We just had a caller who said Baker Mayfield is set up to be the MVP of this league. And by the way, +1.
I mean, the Baker Mayfield MVP campaign is officially on, Chris.
Right now, he's the MVP frontrunner.
He may be right now the most entertaining player in the entire league to watch.
Oh, how fast things change in the NFL. Just 3 years ago, it looked like Baker Mayfield's career was potentially over. He was on 3 teams over the course of a calendar year. The Browns completely gave up on him even after he turned around that franchise. He got cut by the Panthers and got another shot from the Rams before signing with the Buccaneers in the 2023 offseason. It was just a small 1-year deal. He was a band-aid for losing Tom Brady. Maybe he could bridge the gap. Well, he's done a lot more than just that. He's made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons and is now on a contract that is worth up to $100 million across 3 years. That is a really fast career turnaround, and it's cool to see it from a guy as likable as Baker Mayfield. Oh, and he hasn't even just turned it around. He is squarely in the MVP race right now after 6 weeks. It has been one of the best stories in the NFL over the last few years, and could you imagine if that got capped off by an MVP? We're gonna have to wait and see what happens, but at the very least, Baker has the Bucs at 5-1, leading the NFC South. There was a time when Baker Mayfield was expected to be a franchise quarterback and the savior for an NFL franchise. The Browns, to be exact. He was at the top of the mountain in college at Oklahoma. He was that dude. He won the Heisman his last season at OU and was a straight up beast the whole time he was there. He started his college career at Texas Tech, where he walked on and then started, but then he transferred to Oklahoma, and after redshirting, he was the starter for the Sooners for 3 straight seasons, and they went 11-2 every season. He was consistently the starter in college. In all, he went 38-8 in college with over 14,000 yards, 131 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. And rushing, he had over 1,000 yards and 21 touchdowns. Baker was really fun to watch and easy to root for too. And that was again the case in the NFL because he landed with the Browns, the team that everyone honestly felt bad for. They had gone 1-31 in a 2-year stretch, and after going winless the entire 2017 season, they got the first overall pick and went with, of course, Baker Mayfield. Baker wasn't the week 1 starter for Cleveland. He was the backup to Tyrod Taylor after the Browns traded for him from the Bills. Tyrod ended up starting the first 3 games of the year, but it was Baker that came to the rescue in week 3, helping the Browns break a 17-game losing streak. From then on, it was Baker's team and everyone knew it. He brought a type of consistency Cleveland hadn't had in a passer in forever. In fact, there's only been 3 times the Browns have started the same guy for a full season since the franchise reset in 1999. Tim Couch in 2001, and then Baker twice in 2019 and 2020. He was consistently the guy, but he wasn't necessarily consistently good on the field. And I'd argue a lot of that wasn't always necessarily his fault. His rookie year, his head coach was Hugh Jackson, who ended up getting fired after 7 games. Greg Williams took over as the interim head coach, and the Browns managed to go 7-8-1. Still a bad record, yes, but the best season since 2007 for them. Yeah, it really has been that bad in Cleveland. Baker was 6-7 that season, and he really did spark a fire in Cleveland. He looked really impressive for a rookie, and there was a lot of optimism he brought to the franchise. He finished with 27 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Not bad for a Browns quarterback. I mean, that's for sure. But the next season, he did dip with Freddie Kitchens as his head coach. That Browns team was messy, unprepared, and even despite all that, a sophomore slump is just normal for a young quarterback, and it hit Baker pretty hard. He had 22 touchdowns, 21 interceptions, and Cleveland went 6-10. It was a decline all around. Not to continue to bury Kitchens, but the Browns just needed a real adult in the room, and that ended up being Kevin Stefanski, still the head coach. The bounce back was immediate, and Cleveland went 11-5, their best record since 1994, the last time Cleveland won a playoff game. And it was since 2002 that they even had a chance to win a playoff game. It was a long wait, but then the Browns did that too, beating the Steelers in the wild card 48-37. Baker ended the season with 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, a good season. He was starting to look like a franchise quarterback, and like the Browns were really on the right track, but they weren't. Baker declined the next season due to injuries. It made it really hard to evaluate his play because of his shoulder. He missed some time, played in 14 total games, going 6-8. He only threw 17 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. It was a rough season for a bunch of reasons, but for some reason, Cleveland took it as a way to move off of him. It was a shock, but the Browns, after Baker had turned everything around, traded for Deshaun Watson. The Browns gave up 3 first-round picks. They gave him a 5-year, $230 million, fully guaranteed contract. And not to mention, Watson was dealing with a ton of sexual assault allegations. It was a bizarre decision and one that has 100% backfired. Watson has been bad on the field in Cleveland, dealt with season-ending injuries. It could not have gone too much worse for the Browns. Maybe it's karma, but it really did leave Baker Mayfield fighting for his career. He got traded to the Panthers for a 2024 conditional 5th rounder, and it got really rocky from there. Baker had to compete against Sam Darnold for the starting job in Carolina. Yeah, those two guys were together on the same roster, and that team was still terrible. Not to mention, PJ Walker, an XFL guy, was starting some of those games over them, and Matt Rule even got fired. Steve Wilkes took over as the interim. It was a disaster, and it was mostly a disaster year for Baker. I mean, he was on 3 different teams during the calendar year. Then he signed with a 4th early the next year. That was Tampa. His career was in complete turmoil. It started with the Browns moving on from him, but it got bad with the Panthers. He was the week 1 starter over Darnold. Funny enough, it was against the Browns. Carolina got close at the end, but ended up just being a close loss for the Panthers. Baker got hurt in week 5 against the 49ers, and then once he returned in week 8, he was the backup to PJ Walker. Baker did play the second half of week 9 against the Bengals after it was 35-0 at half with Walker starting, but Walker still remained the starter in week 10. After he was 1-5 starting, threw 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions with 1 rushing touchdown, Baker requested to be released, and it was granted. He got claimed off of waivers by the Rams after Matthew Stafford suffered an injury, and man, Baker got thrown into the fire. But that's where he revived his career. After getting waived on Monday and claimed on Tuesday, Baker Mayfield played on Thursday for the Rams after John Wolford was benched after just 1 series. Things were rocky for the Rams at the time. They had lost 6 straight. They needed a win against the Raiders. They ended up trailing 16-3 in the 4th quarter, and Baker took over. The Rams got the ball down 6 with 1:45 remaining, having to go 98 yards without any timeouts. I'm not a math guy, but my math says that's a pretty low probability, and it didn't matter. That was the drive that saved Baker Mayfield's career. They drove down the field, and with 10 seconds left, there was Van Jefferson, who Baker hit for a 23-yard touchdown. It sparked his career back up. Baker even said it allowed him to have fun again. Baker went 1-4 actually starting after that game, and in total as a Ram had 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. It was good enough to get him a prove-it deal with the Bucs in the offseason, a 1-year deal for just $4 million. It was a prove-it deal, and he proved it. Baker passed for 28 touchdowns with 10 picks, rushed for a touchdown. The Buccaneers made the playoffs at 9-8 and beat the Eagles in the wild card. And just like that, the Buccaneers had already found a solution to losing Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield wasn't a band-aid. He was the solution, and he was rewarded with a 3-year extension worth up to $100 million with $50 million guaranteed. He got paid, and he made it worth it pretty fast. I mean, he was the offense for better or for worse. He threw for 4,500 yards and 41 touchdowns and rushed for 378 yards the next year. All are career highs. He even had 3 rushing touchdowns to tie a career high, but there was plenty of bad. He actually led the league in interceptions with 16 and led the league with 13 fumbles, although he did only lose 2 of those. He could have been much more careful with the ball, but the Bucs still went 10-7. They made it to the playoffs, but did lose to Washington in the wild card. That was a lot of success over 2 seasons, but oh my gosh. I mean, he is set up for a monster year now. The Buccaneers are 5-1 with their only loss coming to the Eagles by 6 points. Tampa Bay leads the NFC South, looks like a legit contender, and a lot of that has been because of Baker Mayfield. He is absolutely dealing. Baker has already thrown for 1,539 yards, 4th most in the league, 12 touchdowns, tied for 3rd most, has a 71.1 QBR, the 8th best, and he's already rushed for 158 yards. Oh, and those turnover issues from last year, that was clearly a priority in the offseason. Baker has thrown just 1 interception and fumbled a single time, and that wasn't even lost. That's 1 turnover through 6 games after 18 last season in 17 games. This is the best Baker Mayfield we've ever seen, and suddenly he's in serious contention for NFL MVP. Who knows how good the Buccaneers could be, but this has been one incredible story. From being the guy to being completely counted out and it looking like his career was going to be over, just maybe going around as a backup, he's now in MVP talks and 5-1. Full redemption for Baker Mayfield.